Women collected jewelry partially because it was the only asset they could control for hundreds of years. Since Victorian times and before, it has been considered unseemly and inappropriate for women to be involved in financial matters. And although there was nothing specifically excluding them from the banking system, there were many misogynistic social norms that hindered them from doing business at male-dominated banks, insurance agencies, stockbrokers, and all kinds of financial professionals. And although it's a myth that women couldn't hold bank accounts until the 1960s, there was a good old boys club that made it extraordinarily difficult for women to conduct the same business that men would. And it is true that until Ruth Bader Ginsburg won several Supreme Court cases as a lawyer for the ACLU in the late 1970s, women were not extended credit, and it wasn't until 1978 that credit issuing agencies were required to extend credit to women on the same basis as they would men. Despite this, these good old boy attitudes persisted in many areas until the 1980s, and it wasn't until you get into the mid to late 90s and up until today that women are generally treated on par with men in most financial matters. This inability to have access to the financial system put women in a very precarious position where no matter what they did, they were completely dependent upon their spouse or their father to run their life, and there was no way they could escape because they didn't have any financial assets. As a result, many young women of past generations were advised by their mothers to seek jewelry as gifts because it was the one asset class that they could actually retain and hold. In addition to being socially acceptable for women to accumulate fine jewelry, it also had the advantage of being portable, meaning you could just grab a handful of it and walk out the door. It's also easily liquidated and sold regardless of who you are, and can be used to finance anything anywhere in the world, and is truly a universal coinage. And probably most importantly, it was a dense asset, meaning that you can cram an enormous amount of value into a very small package that can easily be concealed and carried by anybody, anytime, anywhere. Jewelry also had the added advantage of being written off with a chauvinistic attitude that women are very simple creatures that just like shiny things, and as a result, it was of no concern that any woman would accumulate a large amount of jewelry. And more than one widow or divorced woman has been saved by her ability to turn her jewelry into cash. Of course, the beauty and ornamentation of jewelry is still appreciated, but the next time you put on that necklace from your great-great-grandmother, or that ring that's been handed down in your family for 5 generations, please keep in mind that for a woman in your family's history, this may have been her only security in the world.